let me introduce you to Jennifer Stirrup. Jen is going to talk to us about, is your data your organizational North Star or a Death Star? Navigating better decisions with your data. Jen is the CEO and founder of Data AI, data science, and business intelligence consultancy. She's a global keynote speaker, award-winning and internationally recognized digital transformation influencer, and she's also a top 50 women in tech influencer. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jen up to our virtual stage. Hello, hello. Welcome to the DATAcated Expo.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm the second Scottish lady today,
Yes,
so it's been going really well.
yes,
So
two
thanks for
Scottish
having me.
ladies. Thank you so much, Jen. I'm going to hop off and let you take it away. I'll share your screen.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today. So we've had so many great topics so far, and it's going to be hard to live up to that. But this time in the afternoon is usually the graveyard shift. So I thought, what will really wake people up? Here we are. Let's have a little look. I want to talk to you about your data. Is it your organizational North Star, or is it a Death Star? So, like many of you, I'm battle hardened when it comes to dealing with my data. So I take tips from the experts in battle, people like Darth Vader, the Jedi, and the Stormtroopers. Let's look at the tips that we can learn from Star Wars with regards to the processes and the challenges that we face every single day when planning, designing, and delivering both small and large business intelligence projects. We all know that data is a dark art, and there's no better master to teach us than Lord Vader himself. So, welcome to the dark science of data science. In the Star Force, we talk a lot about the force. It's an energy field created by all living things, and it binds the galaxy together. You could say the same about data, that it binds businesses together. Where that is in good hands, that force becomes a power for good in the organization. But it can be used for good, and like the force, it can be used for evil as well. So let's have a think about how we can use their data to become our organizational North Star to help us to drive to make good decisions rather than our Death Star. One thing I've always thought important is that it's always about the people. And that's what we've heard from speakers so far, like Susan Walsh, who are talking about getting our data right. And it's a theme that underpins data science. It's so important to get our data definitions right. This is one of my favourite pictures of Darth Vader. When you're trying to work in an organisation about defining your data, sometimes people can make that very political. We can also need to watch out for empiring. And what I mean by that is not the empire, but I'm thinking of how people don't share information. They hide it and they empire it on their laptops. We talk a lot about big data, but we do need to think about the little data as well. The data that's hiding in people's laptops, the data that's hiding in spreadsheets. The thing with that is that by empiring the data is staying closed, and if your data is siloed, then your analytics will be as well. So we need to think about how we can change these situations. Now, I find it's best to really be as transparent as possible about the data within GDPR, of course. You need to work with internal senior management and sometimes emperor-like clients within the organisation or perhaps outside of it if you're a consultant. Sometimes you need to manage your data like you manage the stormtroopers. It has to be lined up and things have to be in a nice format in order for visualizations to be made. The thing with that is, how can you try to encourage people to start to make the most of their data? And I believe that actually the people skills are just as sustainable and really important, just as much as the technical skills. We need to gather our troops together like a Jedi Knight. using the force, the data, to sort of bind us, but also using empathy and trying to understand where people are coming from. I see lots of challenges in digital transformation around the data. It often looks as if organizations are using their data, but actually they're not always using it in the best way. We have to work out what people mean by business value. So the business value for your organization might be different from mine or from someone else's. When I hear data science being discussed, I often hear people talk about deriving value. But what does that actually mean? And how do you measure that? The reality is that business value means different things to different organizations. So for some, that might be cost reduction. For others, that might be customer retention. For others, that might be trying to work out which products are selling the best. None of these things are wrong as long as they really move towards lifting the business bottom line and also the profit of the organization as well. What is the vision of the organization? So sometimes we can be data driven, but it also means we need to use our insights as well. I like the term data fluency rather than data literacy. Data literacy sounds as if people are somehow data illiterate. I don't believe that's true. Studies show that even very young children understand some concepts of numbers. But what we have to do better is data translation. We have to understand better, like CP3O, what the other languages are saying and trying to understand how we can express that best so that other people can understand it. So I will never understand R2D2 without CP3O. So sometimes in your organization, be a CP3O for the data, help people to understand it, and they'll be able to trust the data better. And it will also help to build your profile in the organization as well. So once you start down the dark path of data, it would dominate your destiny. You might recognize this as a Star Wars quote. I think starting off well is a good place, but sometimes people don't know where to start. So I tend to suggest to people that they pick something that has a real business value, something that will make a difference, and have a business first attitude. The technology is there to support the business. So let's make that happen. Let's be people centered. Going from please to thank you is really about the attitudes that we should have when we're helping people with their data, right from the ETL or the ELT, like Joe just mentioned, right through to the very end product. What are we trying to do for people? Let's go from please to thank you. Let's hear a thank you at the end that's heartfelt from our customers and our users when they finally get what they want. If you're not sure where to start with something that's safe to fail. Just pick some data, try to play with it, see where it gets you, maybe something in an Excel spreadsheet, something that you feel that you can make a start on in understanding the data, and look for something that will surprise people. If you're not sure which project to start, sometimes doing a stage gate approach is a good one. That's where people start to bid for business intelligence reports and dashboards to be implemented next, and you tend to choose the ones that will have the most business value. Also, be careful what people mean by agile. Sometimes they can mean agile, or sometimes they can mean badly implemented waterfall in disguise. So I think it's coming back to the original term that we just mentioned when we looked at Darth Vader. We have to think about it's all about the people and make it all about them. Everyone means different things when they talk about different terms, and everyone brings different things to the table. What we're looking for is consensus, collaboration, and cooperation. And that will really help us all to do better, to make our data work. So with that, I want to make sure we all stay in time. My name is Jennifer Stirrup, and I'm really thrilled to be here. You can get in touch with me over Jen Stirrup or datarelish.com, subscribe to our newsletter, or find us on Twitter. I think what I'd love to hear from you is your thoughts on how you make your data work in your organisation. And with that, I look forward to hearing your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen, for the amazing presentation. We do have plenty of questions. I'll start with Data Relish. I want to learn more about, first of all, the name of the company and what do you do?
So about the name of the company, we chose Data Relish because I really wanted people to relish their data and really enjoy it and have a sense of fun. I don't know about you, but I love playing with data. I love showing people things that they did not know before with their data. I love it when my team do it for me as well. One of my team had me on the seat of my chair earlier today explaining some of the data insights he'd found, and I just kept saying wow. And I want to do that for other people, and I guess that's what I think Data Relish is about. As a team, we want people to look at their data in a new light and really be excited by what they see, and most of all, I want to hear a wow.
Yeah, those wows are really, really worthy. I get it. Another question came in from Gordon. He's saying, do you find analytics programs are more like Jawas, did I even say that right? Than Jedi's, scouring the organizational desert for useful bits of data in the hopes of creating some value? Any recommendations to becoming a data Jedi?
Yes, so they're two separate questions. I'll answer them both separately. I think that's right. I think sometimes it's a desert, but I think what I tend to see are data puddles. We talk a lot about data lakes, but I think we actually see small data muddy puddles around the place where people have got useful bits of data, but they don't tie them together.
Mm-hmm.
I think I personally like putting data sources together, like Joe just mentioned with ETL or ELT. I would just choose the best paradigm to get a richness of the data, because data is so interesting when you put it with other sides of data. So I think to do that, I start small, and I would just try and join some data together and put them on the same dashboard next to one another. Just that. I once did that for one customer who burst into tears. I thought it upset her. And she said, I've been desperate to see that for 23 years. She'd worked in the same organisation for 23 years and she'd never seen that before. And she cried and she went out to the toilet to compose herself. So sometimes you can have such a huge impact with data that I just think it's incredible. I did the same for one customer, joining data together using ELT. It wasn't much, it was a quick job. It was a favour just to show that it worked. And she cried as well. She
Oh
said,
my God.
she said, I spend an hour every night before I go home jamming data together. And she said, this means I can go home early to be with my children. And
Yeah.
that just made me, sort of melt. Because I think if you help people with their data, you really give such a great impact in ways that you don't always see.
Yeah, as long as they're tears of joy and not tears of sorrow that you're bringing to people's eyes. The
Yes.
final question I'll have for you is, you mentioned that you like the term data fluency over data literacy, and I wanted to know, what are some of your tips or some advice on how do we increase data fluency within an organization?
I think it's data fluency or data literacy. People keep talking about it as if it's a language. I prefer fluency because I think it's kinder. Sometimes I think sometimes the world of data, it can sometimes be a bit unkind to people getting started out. Hence the last question about being a data Jedi.
Yeah.
But data fluency, I think that recognises the context and the grammar. So somebody sent me a scientific paper about COVID. I could read it because I'm literate, but I had no idea what it actually said. I didn't understand a word of it because I don't have a science background in biology. It's not my thing. I could read
Yeah.
it because I'm literate, but I was not fluent in it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think for me that's an important distinction. I don't really feel comfortable with the term data literacy. I'd rather say things like improve fluency by encouraging people to learn the building blocks, but also learn about the context. I would say a good thing would be to understand how data visualization can trick people accidentally, things
Mm-hmm.
like shortening and widening the y-axis. Uh, Even getting people to spot these things, I would say the first step is to spot where a data visualization is wrong. Start there and work your way up.
Yes. Well, Jen, thank you so much. We've got a lot of people talking about how they've never made anyone cry tears of joy, unfortunately. So David says you are a hero. Yes, if you can, save some time for people with your work, I think that's really great. And people really loved your story. So thank you again for being here, and we will see you online. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Kate.